And so what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about selling HealthShare plans. I'm going to go over just general stuff about a HealthShare plan, just to give you an idea of what it would take if you wanted to offer one, good and the bad, where they might fit, and just ways you could sell them. But I think the ways you could sell them are pretty obvious. Really, the more the tone here is to give you an idea of just how they work in general and how they're different from a health insurance plan, which they are very different. So having said that, let's get started. We'll talk about HealthShare plans, the enrollment rules and pre-existing condition clauses, exclusions, which they have a number of you got to be aware of, rates and compensation. Going to keep this brief, short, should be done in 15 minutes. No more than that. I know nobody wants to listen to me ramble on for probably even 10 minutes on a Friday, so I'll try to make it as condensed as possible. All right, so about HealthShare plans, first of all, they're not health insurance. That's the key, and you got to be careful with a HealthShare. You can't sell it, and you can't sell it as a health insurance plan. If you do, you can get in hot water because they're very different. A health insurance plan is regulated by the state insurance department. HealthShares are not. They are faith-based plans. We're going to get specific for a little while about two of them today, MediShare and Altrua. But they're faith-based, religious-based, basically, plans that are acknowledged by the Affordable Care Act and the ACA, and they are grandfathered in to operate in that manner as faith-based health sharing plans, but they are not insurance, and you got to be careful with your terminology. I'll even, as you'll notice, catch myself multiple times using the terms copay and deductible, and you really can't do that with these plans. So they're faith-based. The way it really works is if you enroll in one of these plans, they take your money every month. It goes into an escrow account, and then they use that money in the escrow account to pay out and cover health costs for fellow members, people in the plan, and they use that money to pay those costs. Health sharing, they call it, sharing in healthcare costs. So it's really how it works. It's just pooling money and sharing it based on a set of rules and criteria for coverage that they spell out very clearly, but are very different than what you might be used to with a regular health insurance plan. So while it's not health insurance in any way, the benefits are very similar. The way that the HealthShare works is very similar to a health plan. They pay us, if you remember, for example, they pay every month. If they go to the doctor for an office visit, they pay a small cost share. In the insurance world, that'd be a copay, $25, $35, depending on the plan. They go to a primary or specialist, they pay that $25 or $35, and they're good. Some plans have a small cost share for an emergency room visit or urgent care. For example, a MediShare plan that's $200 if you go to the emergency room, or an Altrua is $60 if you go to urgent care. So that's all you would pay in that instance. So, and again, remember, they're not insurance plans, they're not ACA plans. So as a result, they won't cover preventative in full like a regular health plan would. So when we're talking about these plans, and I say you pay a cost share, or I always want to say the word copay. Same, looks the same, but you pay a cost share for doctor's visits, cost share for emergency room. But when you get a preventative physical done or any of the annual wellness stuff on the ACA, that stuff, well, you get the discount, which we'll talk about. It won't necessarily be covered because they don't cover preventative in full. On all these plans, you can choose the major deductible amount. And again, I use the term deductible. They're going to use the term cost share. You choose the major cost share amount on the plans. And what's appealing about these are the premiums are a lot lower than a standard health plan. I mean, substantially lower, as you'll see in a minute. There are a lot of registered HealthShare plans operating. A lot of them are Christian-based. Some of them are just faith-based. We'll give you both examples of that. There's a new one recently that came out that is a Jewish healthcare plan. There's a number of them. They're ACA exempt, meaning back when there was a penalty, somebody enrolled in these plans would not pay that penalty. I know that's kind of moot at this point. These are private organizations, so they're all private. They are not regulated by insurance departments. Since they're private companies, they're not going to send out things like their financials every year. They're not going to do audits that they show you every year. They're a private organization sharing in care. their ability to share in cost is only as good as the money they have in their sharing accounts. I'll give you an example. MediShare has been operating since the early 90s. They've been sharing, and they've shared billions of dollars. And now, given that HealthShare plans have exploded, you've got over 2 million people in them suddenly. But they've good faith been sharing money for years now. However, you got to understand this isn't under the insurance department. So if these guys ever ran out of money, they're out of money. They're not legally obligated to share in costs for a member. Some of the plans use networks. I have stuck with network plans. So the plans that I can give you access to use networks, and there's major advantages to doing that. I've dealt with both plans that use networks and some of the health shares that do not. My experience overwhelmingly has been use a network. The reason being, if you use a network, the costs are already negotiated. So you'll see most of these plans, the two we're talking about today specifically, use multi-plan PHCS. So when you go to the doctor, the specialist, to get any work done, whether it's something that's going to have a small cost share or something that's going to go towards the major cost share on the plan, either way, it's a negotiated rate. So, and you don't have to sit and wait for the plan to negotiate that with the doctor. So, again, both these plans use PHCS. You have access to all the providers and the negotiated amounts for PHCS. And if you want to check that network, you just go to www.multiplan.com. Those not familiar with PHCS Multiplan, it is a large national network. They rent it out to a number of organizations, health insurance companies, HealthShare plans, self-funded providers. That's their main business. That is their business, is renting their network, their national network out. So you'll find that it has pretty good coverage, pretty substantial network. Plans that don't use a network, I won't mention names, but there's a number of them out there. What they're going to do is they're going to try to negotiate every single claim over a certain dollar amount. That's going to be a really slow process for your members. So they go and they get a major service done. That claims, we aren't even supposed to call it a claim, that share, that health cost that they incurred, the health share is going to try to negotiate that. If they don't have a network, they're going to try to negotiate that claim by claim basis, and that is going to slow everything down. And ultimately, providers are not going to be happy with it. Most of these plans will run on a plan year cost share resetting, with the cost share resetting at the end of the plan anniversary. So they don't reset, for example, on January 1st. If somebody enrolls in February, that's going to be their anniversary. So most of them run on a plan year, not a calendar year. Applicants can enroll in these plans or apply for them rather the first of any month all year, which is nice. Somebody can enroll in June, July, August, September, whenever they feel like it, they can apply. Most of these plans have an enrollment fee. They'll have a couple fees, but they mostly have an enrollment fee of $125 that they pay to enroll in the plan, one-time fee. I'll give you examples of benefits and rates for both MediShare and Altrua on the next slide. You're looking at MediShare rates here. So as you can see, they got a $35 cost share for doctor's visits, a $200 cost share for emergency room. Annual household portion, that is simply, in our terms, would be what's called the major deductible. But they call it the annual household portion because it's a HealthShare plan. And you can adjust it, and you can see they've got rates affiliated with it. So, for example, if somebody went in the 5500 plan, they go to the doctor, they pay $35. They go to the emergency room, they pay $200. Any other service is going to go towards the annual household portion. If they meet that $5,500, then they'll be covered in full for the rest of the year. And you can see rates. The standard monthly rate's $253. The healthy rate's $219. So substantially lower rates on these plans. There is age banding in here, so this example I think is for a 40-year-old. But it is age banded, but you can see the rates are substantially lower, and it's simple and easy to understand. The other thing you got to get used to is changing the terminology you use, and you got to get used to the fact also that they're not going to get a full covered, annual physical or an OBGYN visit. They're going to get the cost share for doctor's visits, for ER. Everything else is going to go towards that annual household portion. To give you an example, so your member, and if you work with MediShare and sell them, you get a site basically they can go on, you can quote online, they can apply online, and they can choose which annual household portion they want. Here's an example of Altrua. That's the other company we use. Theirs is pretty simple. Altrua has a gold, silver, and bronze plan. We usually focus on the silver. And if you look at the silver, it's very straightforward. I mean, it simply says if you're age 50 to 59, it shows you the rates for single, member, plus one, and family. So 336, 578, or 672. The way that plan works is Altrua is a little different, where